In the early days of America's struggle to find its identity, long before Abraham Lincoln became the revered 16th President of the United States, the young lawyer wandered the streets of Illinois with ideas brimming in his mind and determination in his heart. Springfield was a town of growth, tension, and opportunity. But hidden behind its streets were countless untold stories, stories of bravery, silence, and sacrifice. Among those silent figures was a young slave named Elijah, whose fate would intertwine with Lincoln's in the most unexpected and heroic way. Elijah belonged to the Thompson family, a wealthy household known for their political connections and strict views on slavery. Though he was only 17, Elijah had endured a lifetime of hardship. Still, he possessed a kind heart, sharp instincts, and an incredible ability to listen and observe without drawing attention. His silence was his protection, and his memory was his strength. While serving the guests during social events at the Thompson estate, Elijah would often overhear whispers of business, politics, and secrets not meant for his ears. One such night would change the course of history forever. It was an evening in early March 1831. Mr. Thompson was hosting a private gathering with powerful men judges, landowners, and political influencers. Among the invited was a fiery speaker from a southern state, who openly expressed frustration at the growing anti-slavery sentiments in Illinois. Elijah, silent as always, carried trays of wine and bread through the room, catching every word with careful precision. "We must make an example of them," the Southerner said in a hushed but firm tone. "This Lincoln fellow, he's stirring trouble even now, before holding any real power. He should be silenced before he gains a platform." The words made Elijah's heart pound. Abraham Lincoln wasn't yet famous, but he had begun to speak publicly about equality and justice, even when others mocked or threatened him. Elijah had seen him once in court, a tall, awkward man with a gentle voice and fierce convictions. To hear that someone wanted him dead was more than just disturbing. It was terrifying. Elijah spent the rest of the evening memorizing every word he could. He knew he couldn't go to the authorities. This word meant nothing as a slave. But he also knew where Lincoln would be the next day, speaking at a small gathering outside the courthouse in Springfield. Elijah didn't sleep that night. Waited until the early hours of morning, snuck out of the estate, and ran barefoot across fields and dirt roads to warn the one man who might be able to stop a storm before it started. At sunrise, Lincoln stood with a small group of citizens. He spoke with passion about justice, unity, and the dangers of division. Just as he finished, Elijah reached the edge of the crowd, breathless and dirty. He approached cautiously, unsure how to get Lincoln's attention without causing a scene. "Sir, Mr. Lincoln," Elijah whispered. Lincoln turned, surprised. "They're planning something. People at Mr. Thompson's house. They want to hurt you." Lincoln frowned, not in fear but in concern. He knelt to the boy's eye level. "Who are you, son?" "Elijah. I work for the Thompsons. I heard them last night. A man from the South. He said you had to be stopped." Lincoln looked at the boy's trembling hands and the sincerity in his eyes. "What's your full name?" "I don't have one," Elijah replied. That moment broke something in Lincoln, not just his heart, but his soul. The idea that a boy who risked everything to save him didn't even have a full name. It made the threat more real, more urgent. Lincoln asked Elijah for details, everything he heard, who said it, how they acted. Later that day, Lincoln took precautions. He canceled another public appearance, alerted the local sheriff discreetly, and even kept an armed friend close for several days. Word reached back that a man traveling under a false name had disappeared from Springfield shortly after. The plan to attack Lincoln failed not because of guards or politics, but because of a boy with no name and a brave heart. But Lincoln didn't forget. Years passed. Lincoln rose from lawyer to congressman, and then, eventually, President of the United States. The nation was on fire, torn apart by slavery, war, and hatred. Through the darkest moments of his presidency, he often remembered Elijah, the nameless slave who once ran through the night to protect a man he barely knew. In 1863, after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued, Lincoln made a private request. He asked a team to search through records and plantations for a man named Elijah, who had once lived with the Thompsons in Illinois. It took months, but they found him now free, living in a poor district, working as a stableman. When Lincoln finally met Elijah again in the White House, there were no guards, no speeches, no politics, just two men, shaped by time, reunited by destiny. Lincoln stood, tears forming in his eyes. "I never forgot what you did for me." "You changed the world, sir," Elijah replied. "I only changed one day." Lincoln placed a hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes, one day is all it takes." And in that silent room, the course of American history came full circle, because one young slave saved the life of a man who would later help free millions. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment if you'd like to see the next part.